The roar of the crowd, the clash of steel, the stench of blood and sweat. This was the world of the Roman gladiators. They were more than just fighters. Gladiators were icons of an empire. They represented the power, the glory, and the brutality of Rome. Their lives were a spectacle of both entertainment and politics. In the Colosseum's heart, destinies were decided. Emperors rose and fell on the blood-soaked sand. This is their story. The gladiators were more than just men. They were symbols. They embodied the Roman fascination with death and spectacle. They were idols, worshipped by the masses. Their images adorned mosaics and pottery. Their names were on everyone's lips. They were the stars of their day, but behind the masks and the muscle lay a complex and often tragic reality. To understand the gladiators, we must journey back in time. We must travel to ancient Etruria. This region in Italy predates the Roman Republic. The Etruscans were a powerful and enigmatic people. They left behind a legacy of art, architecture, and importantly, ritual combat. Gladiatorial combat, as we know it, finds its roots in their funeral rites. The Etruscans believed in honoring the dead with blood sacrifice. They believed this would appease their gods. They staged elaborate combats at funerals. These fights, often to the death, were the earliest forms of gladiatorial combat. The Romans, always eager to absorb aspects of other cultures, adopted this practice. They transformed it into something uniquely Roman. The seeds of a bloody spectacle were sown. What began as a solemn ritual evolved into something far grander. In the early days of Rome, these rituals were deeply rooted in the traditions and beliefs of the people. They were somber events, meant to honor the dead and appease the gods. The atmosphere was one of reverence and respect, with the community coming together to pay their respects. The Romans, with their love of spectacle and power, transformed gladiatorial combat. They saw an opportunity to turn these solemn rites into grand public displays. The transition was gradual but deliberate, as the leaders of Rome recognized the potential to use these events to demonstrate their power and control. The people, too, were drawn to the excitement and drama of the combat, and what was once a private ceremony became a public spectacle. They took it from the shadows of funeral rites and thrust it onto a public stage. The transformation was not just physical, but also cultural. The games became a reflection of Roman society, showcasing its values, its strengths, and its ambitions. The arenas were filled with the sounds of cheering crowds, the clash of weapons, and the cries of the combatants. It was a world away from the quiet, solemn rituals of the past. They built arenas, first temporary wooden structures, then later, magnificent stone amphitheaters. These structures were architectural marvels, designed to hold thousands of spectators. The wooden arenas were quickly replaced by more permanent stone constructions, which could withstand the test of time and the wear and tear of countless games. The most famous of these, the Colosseum, became a symbol of Roman engineering prowess and a testament to their love of spectacle. These became the stages for these bloody displays. The arenas were more than just buildings. They were stages where the drama of life and death played out before an eager audience. The design of the amphitheaters allowed for maximum visibility, ensuring that every spectator had a clear view of the action. The sand of the arena floor was stained with the blood of countless combatants, each fight a story of bravery, skill, and often tragedy. The first gladiatorial games in Rome were held in the Forum Boarium in 264 BC. This event marked a significant shift in Roman culture. The Forum Boarium, a bustling market area, was transformed into a venue for combat. The games were initially held to honor the dead, but they quickly became a popular form of entertainment. The success of these early games set the stage for the expansion and evolution of gladiatorial combat in Rome. This marked the beginning of a phenomenon that would grip the Roman world for centuries. The games became an integral part of Roman life, drawing people from all walks of life. They were more than just entertainment. They were a way for the people to connect with their leaders, their gods, and each other. The popularity of the games grew, and with it, the scale and grandeur of the events. As the Republic grew, so did the scale of the games. The expansion of the Roman Republic brought with it new resources, new ideas, and new opportunities for spectacle. The games became more elaborate, incorporating new forms of combat, exotic animals, and intricate stage designs. The leaders of Rome used the games to showcase their wealth and power, and to win the favor of the people. They became more elaborate, more violent, and more popular. The games evolved into a complex and highly organized form of entertainment. The combatants were trained to perform not just as fighters, but as entertainers. The violence of the games was a reflection of the harsh realities of Roman life, but it was also a form of escapism for the people. The more brutal the combat, the more thrilling the spectacle. Gladiators were no longer just slaves fighting to the death. They were becoming skilled performers, their lives intertwined with the whims of the crowd and the ambitions of politicians. The training of gladiators became a specialized profession with schools dedicated to honing their skills. These fighters were celebrated and admired, their names known throughout the empire. They were both heroes and victims, their fates determined by the cheers of the crowd and the decisions of the powerful. They were becoming skilled performers, their lives intertwined with the whims of the crowd and the ambitions of politicians. The games were a tool for political maneuvering, a way for leaders to gain favor and demonstrate their power. The gladiators, with their strength and skill, were pawns in this game, their lives a testament to the glory and the brutality of Rome. Section 4. Life beyond the arena, more than just slaves. The image of the gladiator is often synonymous with slavery. When we think of these fierce warriors, we often imagine them as mere pawns, forced into combat for the amusement of the Roman populace. While it is true that many gladiators were slaves, bought and sold for the entertainment of the masses, the reality of their lives was far more complex and multifaceted. The reality was more nuanced. Gladiators came from various backgrounds and their reasons for entering the arena were as diverse as the men themselves. Not all gladiators were forced into the arena. Some chose this path willingly, driven by circumstances or personal ambition. Some were free men, driven by poverty, ambition, or a thirst for glory. These men saw the arena as a way to escape their dire situations, or to achieve a level of fame and fortune that was otherwise unattainable. They volunteered to fight, risking their lives for a chance at fortune and fame. The allure of the arena was strong, promising not just survival, but the possibility of a better life. These volunteer gladiators, known as auctorati, signed contracts and received payment for their service. They were not just fighters, but contractual employees who had agreed to the terms of their engagement. They could even become wealthy and celebrated, their names whispered with admiration by the masses. The most successful among them were akin to modern-day sports stars, enjoying fame and fortune. They trained alongside their slave counterparts, enduring the same brutal regime, facing the same life-or-death stakes in the arena. The training was rigorous and relentless, designed to prepare them for the harsh realities of combat. Theirs was a life of risk and reward, a testament to the complex realities of the gladiatorial world. The arena was a place where the lines between slave and free man blurred, where courage and skill could elevate a man to legendary status. Section 5. The Forge of Warriors, inside the gladiator schools. Behind the roar of the crowd and the blood-soaked sand lay the harsh reality of the gladiatorial training schools, known as ludi. These institutions were not just places of training, but were the very crucibles where men were transformed into gladiators, the warriors of the arena. The ludi were scattered across the Roman Empire, each with its own unique methods and traditions, but all shared a common goal: to produce the most formidable fighters. Here, men from all walks of life, slaves, criminals, and even volunteers, were molded into instruments of war. The allure of fame, fortune, and the chance for freedom drew many to the gladiator schools. For some, it was a last resort, a desperate bid for survival in a world that had cast them aside. For others, it was a calling, a chance to prove their mettle and earn glory in the eyes of the Roman populace. Under the watchful eyes of the lanista, the gladiator trainer, they endured a brutal training regimen designed to hone their bodies and minds into lethal weapons. The lanista was often a former gladiator himself, someone who had survived the trials of the arena and now passed on his knowledge to the next generation. His role was not just to train but to instill discipline, resilience, and a warrior's spirit in his charges. The training was relentless, designed to push the gladiators to their physical and mental limits. Every day was a test of endurance, strength, and willpower. The gladiators would rise before dawn, their days filled with grueling exercises, combat drills, and tactical lessons. Rest was a luxury, and only the strongest could endure the constant strain. They practiced with wooden swords and wicker shields, their movements becoming swifter, their strikes more precise. These training weapons were designed to simulate the weight and balance of real weapons, allowing the gladiators to perfect their techniques without the risk of serious injury. Every strike, every parry, every maneuver was drilled into them until it became second nature. They learned to fight with a variety of weapons and armor, specializing in different fighting styles. Each gladiator was trained according to his strengths and weaknesses, with some becoming masters of the sword and shield, while others excelled with spears, tridents, or even exotic weapons from distant lands. The diversity of their training ensured that they could face any opponent in the arena. Some, like the Myrmilones, were heavily armored, wielding gladius and shield. These gladiators were the tanks of the arena, their heavy armor providing protection while their gladius delivered powerful, decisive blows. Their training focused on strength and endurance, allowing them to withstand the rigors of prolonged combat. Others, like the Retiari, fought with nets and tridents, their agility their greatest asset. These gladiators relied on speed and precision, using their nets to entangle opponents and their tridents to deliver quick, lethal strikes. Their training emphasized agility, reflexes, and the ability to outmaneuver heavier, slower opponents. Life in the ludus was harsh, unforgiving, and often short, but it was here that legends were forged. The bonds formed between gladiators, the respect earned through blood and sweat, and the skills honed in the training grounds all contributed to the making of a true warrior. Despite the brutality, the ludus was a place of transformation, where ordinary men became extraordinary fighters, ready to face the ultimate test in the arena.